Hello, my name is Keith Townsend. I'm president of Asheville Civitan Club this year. I'd like to invite each and every one of you to join us for the upcoming television series, Spirit of Civitan TV. It's going to be on URTV, and we're going to be covering some of the important issues affecting our community. We're going to be meeting some of the civic leaders who are making a difference every day in the lives of our community, and making things better for our children and grandchildren, making this a better place in which to live. So we hope you will be able to join us and watch our series as it comes forward. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I'm Paula Dean. Since 1950, Civitans has been committed to improving the lives of people with developmental disabilities. That commitment continues today through Civitans in involvement in summer camps, vocational programs, and Special Olympic Games for great little people like my friend Sophie. So please help me and thousands of other Civitan members to make a difference by volunteering in your local Civitan club. Together, we can make life sweeter in your community.
And who we have with us today is Greg Townsend, the principal and founding father of SILSA, the School of Inquiry and Life Science Asheville, and the lead teacher who has been equally involved and dedicated this, Ms. Shannon Baggett. So Greg, Shannon.
Keep forgetting how tall Jen is. And actually, to go back to getting involved with this, it all started because I just went on a free trip to New York. I walked into Jed's office one morning in February, and he said, "Hey, we got to send 2 people to New York for this Gates Foundation thing. You want to go?" I said, "Sure. We'll take somebody with you." He said, "Well, I think Shannon Baggett ran that kind of thing in the world, so let me get in touch with her." And lo and behold, here we stand 5 years later. A few dings and bruises, but I think we're well on our way. It is really very interesting for me to speak to you today, because not only do I have the principal who talked me out of my very happy, safe, and secure niche in the English classroom, where I've been for 19 years, but I also have here listening to me the principal who put me in that same niche in the fall of 1984, Larry Blake. So it's good to see him as well. What we have here is a series of slides that talk to you a little bit about who we are. And Shannon and I have done this particular dog and pony show over the last 5 years, probably about 100 times. And so she's going to work you through the presentation on who we are, and then Jed said also that we want to talk a little bit about educational reform and the difficulties posed with educational reform. So at that point, I will come in.
What you have in front of you here, I'm a little bit shorter than this, you guys. What you have in front of you here, and just pass it around as well, are some outcomes that we as faculty feel our students should have once they leave us. We're always keeping the end in mind, and so this summer, after 4 years, we finally are figuring out who we are and who we want our students to be once they graduate. And now everything that we do, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom, what we teach our kids, not just academics, but also socially, emotionally, we keep referring to these outcomes. So we want our graduates to care for themselves, one another, their community. We want to teach them to be able to think on their own, to problem solve. We don't want to just teach them the Pythagorean theorem, and we also want to teach them how to apply it and when to use it. So we're a very big firm believer in changing how we deliver instruction. And our kids frequently consider SILSA to be a family. That not only are they students in a school, but they're also members of a smaller community where adults and students alike care for one another. A lot of people ask us, well, what makes SILSA different? We're still a public high school in Asheville City Schools, and what makes us different? Our school is fairly small right now. We have
153 this morning.
153 students. So 153 students from 9 to 12th grade. So we are kind of a small, family-like atmosphere. We do focus on inquiry, asking questions, and we also focus on the life sciences. So students who come to us, we ask that they do have some interest in the sciences and in math. Right now, we're also focusing on Thank you. Right now, we're focusing on a big project called the Smart Challenge, and if you go to our website, or Ms. Byron, who's a teacher heading that program up, if you go to those websites, you'll find that they have a silent auction right now going on to raise money. They are purchasing a vehicle, and they're going to convert it to an electric vehicle. So this is a major project for these students, and they're seniors in our seniors in our environmental class, and they're also working with the metals class at Asheville High, so it's kind of a joint project there. Our students are also involved in the community. We do have a community service component, and our students work with younger kids in the elementary school. I frequently take our upper level students, and they conduct labs, as you see in this one picture. I'm teaching them certain inquiry labs, and this is a picture of one of our students who's going into Vance Elementary and working with the 5th graders. And the other picture you see there is some of our students volunteering with the Salvation Army. So we do highly encourage them to give back to their community. And we ask that if you ever have any events or organizing events, please let us know, because they're frequently looking for ways to get involved in the community. Our students are cross-enrolled in Asheville High as well, so they do take some elective courses, and they're also involved in all Asheville High athletics and other clubs. So our students mainly come to us for their core courses, their math, English, science, and social studies. We do have a couple of their electives that they are able to take as well, but the arts classes, career technical classes, they take in a larger school, which is of Asheville High. All of our courses are taught at the honors level, and we do focus on preparing every student to be college ready. No matter what level they come to us, whether they've had an honors course or not, we try to bring them up to the level that they should be at and prepare them to not only get into certain colleges, but also to be successful once they get there. And we do feel like our coursework is very rigorous. Our students are very flexible. We have to teach them to be very flexible, because as a new school, we're constantly changing ourselves, and we integrate our curriculum. So if students in a math class, and we teach them to write a little bit in math class, they're not always saying, well, why are you teaching me to write in math? This is math. I don't even know that here. Our kids really start to see the connections, because our teachers work together to collaborate with their instruction, so that kids don't see those barriers of, this is a math class, this is a science class. They're really starting to see how all those core subjects in the real world actually blend together. Our juniors and seniors do have access to college curriculum. They are taking courses through UNCG. There's an iSchool there where our students are taking online courses. Typically, I think right now we have a student taking cultural anthropology and sociology. Next semester we have some psychology courses being offered. Our students also take courses at AB Tech through Avenue College. And right now our seniors are taking the first 2 college-level English courses. And next semester, some of our students will be taking the first statistics course at AB Tech. And as I mentioned before, our students really have an interest in science or math. We do find that as time progresses, some students may find that their interests have changed. Well, we're not going to kick them out if they become seniors and decide, well, science or math is not a field that I want to go into, but we try to nurture their interest no matter where they lie. But our school does focus, or does have a theme on science and math throughout. You see here, one of our students is participating in a health careers conference that Mayhap puts on every year. We bring our students there every year, and there they find, they get to talk to other students in colleges. They also talk to other businesses and folks at Mission Hospital and their careers. The bottom picture there is a couple of our seniors that we're doing a lab at AB Tech on the Anchor campus through the biotechnology course. So So we're developing a lot of partners around the community who are really allowing our kids to come into their businesses or come into their world and show them how science and math is really applied in their field of work. Our curriculum is also focused on project-based learning. We feel that we want to show our students how the math, science, English, and social studies in the real world is interrelated and how we solve everyday problems. These are two problems that we posed to our kids in the past couple of years. Last year we asked the question, to what extent is nuclear energy safe? And students had to research this. We had some folks come in that were pro-nuclear energy and some that were against nuclear energy. They formed their own opinions and had to come up with presentations in some form of media to either show that they were either for or against converting energy to nuclear energy that we use. And to what extent should government control stem cell and cloning research? This was a question we asked a couple of years ago, and students had to present to a panel of folks from UNCA and from Mission Hospital. They had to present their view on where they thought government should take a stand. Should they have full control over the research or not so much? And we involve a lot of community members in these projects. We bring experts in the field to come in and share their expertise and their point of views. And we ask students to come up with their own thoughts and their own conclusions and be able to present that information to an authentic audience.
This year's project-based learning unit, This year's project-based learning unit will work with the Forest Service on a project we call the Natural Inquirer, where our students will be each conducting their own independent inquiry labs and then writing this up as a scientific journal article for an audience of 5th graders or 8th graders. And we have a partnership with the Cradle of Forestry. Some of you may know Alex Comfort. He's working with us on that one. And we have a partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and a PhD from the University of Georgia, who has spent a lot of time with us developing that. And these are all, to lapse into edu-speak, these are all opportunities to give our students authentic ways to demonstrate what they learn. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end.
We frequently take our students outside the classroom as well. We want to show them, what real scientists do and how they operate on a daily basis. On the right-hand side, you see some students there that we took last year to the Cradle of Forestry. They were collecting salamanders and collecting some data on them. These salamanders in this particular area are already tagged, so the forest rangers there frequently collect those tagged salamanders and measure their weight and length and check their overall health. So our students were actually helping contribute to some of their research and some of their data collection. So they were able to input that data into the database of the Cradle of Forestry. So as often as we can, we take them outside of the classroom and give them a little hands-on experience of what's being done in the actual field. As I mentioned before, our 4 core subject areas are always integrated, so our students don't feel like they're being taught in silos and not really shown how those subject areas apply. So we're really, I think, doing a great job of crossing those barriers of integrating the curriculum. We, at the 9th grade level, have a course that we call Survivor, and that course is really designed to teach our students several things. One big component of it is to learn how to use different software applications, how to use the computer as a research tool, also as a presentation tool. Our students in that class also get credit for an AB Tech course called ACA 115, which is basically a college success skills course. So they, as a freshman in high school, actually already earned 1 college credit as a freshman for that class. And as a school, SILSA focuses also on literacy and writing, because no matter what field you're going into, they all have to be able to write and communicate effectively. So our students are very familiar with a school-wide rubric that we've created on writing and also presenting their projects. So no matter what class they're in, math, English, science, social studies, or the survival class, they're all well-versed on good presentation skills and good writing skills. And we hope that that will transfer on to college as well, because our rubric is based on a freshman entry-level college student. So at the top of that rubric, or if they're performing at the top of their rubric, we feel that they'll be very comfortable in performing well at the freshman college level. We have several grants. One, our initial grant through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has allowed us to purchase laptops with wireless carts. So right now we have 3 carts with about 24, if we take a few more, laptops in each cart. And our teachers use those laptops every day, and actually fighting over them sometimes. So the students are very comfortable with having a laptop on their desk on a daily basis, using lots of different software applications. So that's where that survivor class really comes into play, so that they can learn those applications to use in other classes. And our students also are required to create a portfolio that will be a living document over 4 years. And that's where they put their best collections of work in, their resumes, their community service. And at the end of every year, we ask our students to present their portfolios to a panel of adults. And we talk to them about what their goals were for the year, where are they now, and what are some goals for next year, so that we can make sure students are progressing over their 4-year high school career.
Thank you, Shannon. All right, as I mentioned earlier, we are part of a larger groundswell in public education to reform the traditional high school. As an English teacher, I have used the analogy that if Rip Van Winkle fell asleep in his high school English class and woke up today, there probably would be very little that he would notice that would be very different. The high school model we have now is not much different from the factory model of the early part of the 20th century. And the purpose of the factory model, in one very real sense, was simply to slice and dice and put students in places where those who were deemed worthy of going on to getting a post-secondary education were prepared to do so, and those whose future lay in manufacturing and a job on the line somewhere were encouraged, sometimes not too discreetly, to take their talents elsewhere. Well, we know, and as I stand to talk to you today, we know that we are moving into very uncertain times economically, and we are moving into times where economists tell us that 85 to 90% of the jobs out there demand some post-secondary education. So we can no longer use the public high school as a place to sort the scholars from the assembly line workers, because those assembly line workers are going to need to then move to Kuala Lumpur, Thailand, Central America, because those jobs just aren't here. With that in mind, starting in about 2003, the North Carolina New Schools Project was named the custodian of a block grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with an eye to high school innovation. And so we are part of the first cohort of schools in the New Schools Project. We are what is known as a redesigned high school, and our charge is to simply change the teaching and learning and the culture of the school to one where instead of breadth of curriculum, we look at a focus of the curriculum. We give students the tools they need to be successful in a very uncertain, unchanging world. That is not all there is, though, to the New Schools Project. It serves a very important role in advocating for change in public education. And just about an hour ago, Shannon and I were meeting in my office with 2 representatives from the Asheville City Schools Foundation. And I think one of the areas where we have been very successful in SILSA and where the New Schools Project has been successful is in pushing back on the state's curriculum and leading the state to realize that content-driven curriculum does not prepare students for the world that they're going to be moving into. So that role as an advocate for high school innovation is certainly a very important one for the New Schools Project. You may have heard of Buncombe Early College on the campus of AB Tech. They are a cousin of ours. Most New Schools Project schools are early colleges. They also have, I think, 8 or 9 new tech high schools where they have a prescribed curriculum which is very heavy into robotics and computer manufacturing. Thank you. It is now 12:45 according to the computer. We are, as Judd mentioned earlier, we are part of a larger groundswell of educational reforms. One of those is what the state of North Carolina calls impact. Judd and I had the great pleasure of all expense paid trips to Raleigh for 10 days of professional development spread out over a very lengthy year. And it always seemed that every time we were down there, holed up in the Pink Palace of the Department of Public Instruction, something went to hell in a handbasket back up here. So that always made things interesting. But what the impact model is an instructional model that really aligns very closely with what we have developed really on our own in SILSA, which is an instructional model which is rooted in collaborative planning, getting teachers together to talk about their craft and talk about ways that they can work together to present the curriculum to students. Project-based learning based on essential questions, where we teach students how to ask good questions and then go about the research to find that. And then also a student-centered focus of instructional technology. Larry and I go back far enough that I think the two of us can remember when there was maybe 1 or 2 computers in the entire campus. Through a series of impact grants, there are probably 250 laptops alone on the Asheville High School SILSA campus at this point. And there are opportunities out there to even increase on that number. All of this is also part of a change in emphasis from the North Carolina State Board of Education, what they're calling the 21st Century Schools Initiative. Again, as we have been working on building a school without a template, the best analogy I can give is one, again, I used about an hour and a half ago in a meeting with the Schools Foundation. We have been building a house floor by floor, moving into each floor as it's completed, and then building a floor on top of it. So as we've added a grade level each year, our 9th grade floor, we feel pretty comfortable with that. We've been living on that floor for 3 years now. Our senior floor, we got the studs up, we're beginning to get the drywall up, we'll probably have the pictures hung in time for graduation as we've added a grade level each year. But as we've done this, and we've had no template, we've had some guidance and some idea people working with us, but we've developed our template along the way. The state has validated what we're doing by taking a lot of the things that we just were gravitating towards anyway as educators and putting it in its 21st Century Schools Initiative. Most importantly is an understanding that content is not where the future lies. Where the future lies is in teaching young people how to acquire knowledge, not a very static content-defined body of knowledge, but how you go about discovering and learning on your own. Because as Judd and I have said many, many times over the years, we're preparing students for jobs that do not exist at this point. So it doesn't matter what content we give them now. What matters is what cognitive and intellectual skills and aptitudes and perspectives we give them. So we feel that the 21st Century Schools Initiative, again, is something that gives validity to our work in creating the School of Equity and Life Sciences at Asheville. Now, obstacles to reform. Have we come across any obstacles to reform? I guess I have to say that because of us, Judd's last year and a half, 2 years were very interesting. One of the biggest obstacles is simply what the traditional view of high school is. And it's interesting. I've lived in Asheville since Larry Liggett hired me in 1984, and I love this town, and I love this community, and I love that pile of granite that sits at 419 McDowell Street. I was shocked how many people had a visceral and emotional response to that school. When we started talking about changing the way the teaching and learning was structured, I was amazed at how the community reacted to that. So you cannot de-emphasize or under-emphasize the fact that everybody has been to school and everybody has their own opinion on how a school should work. And if you do anything to change that, well, that's not school. And so that's been a huge, huge shift that we've had to deal with. Other shifts are more legalistic. The limitations of the school calendar. We would love to go on a year-round calendar. My wife was teaching at Hall Fletcher Elementary 14 years ago, 15 years ago, when they were on a year-long calendar. It was good for kids. It was not good for the families whose kids were there, because it meant they had students, they had children in their house on 2 different calendars. I think our students would benefit we run a year-round calendar, but there are obstacles and perspectives there that we have to change. Limitations on the school day, the definition of what a school day is. We would love to be able to get our students off campus more and have them in internships and apprenticeship programs, but we do have this requirement from the state that students are in a school setting for 180 days for 1,000 hours. So those are issues as well. I've already spoken about content-based curriculum. On the twin to that is an accountability model based on standardized testing. As I mentioned earlier with project-based learning, we are all about putting our students in environments where they can tell authentic people, not teachers, but you folks, people who are not raised and live professionally in the educational environment, but community members, parents, future employers, their neighbors, what they have learned in ways that go beyond bubbling in on a standardized test. We do this through our portfolio, where our students sit down with a panel of 3 and talk about what they have there to present, to document what they've done. I would love to extend an invitation to members of this club to help us with that evaluation later in the spring. We do that through our project-based learning units. We had a student who created a video on his project last year that really did an excellent job of putting forth his perspective on the applicability of nuclear energy in our energy market. And we have any number of examples like that. The reality is, though, is that the state measures our success first and foremost in how well our kids bubble in on a standardized test. Now, I do feel that the state is beginning to move away from that particular model. I do not know if it will have moved away from that model when I have retired. So, these are other factors. But I think, to me, the best indication that I can give that we are striking the right course and moving in the right direction. I want to close with this. This is a quotation from from the father of one of our first cohort of kids. For students to be well prepared and to meet the demands of the real world, students need to obtain many skills that may not have been as necessary in past years as it is today. Some of these skills are being able to collaborate with others, understanding new information, and applying academic principles to the real world. I think SILSA is preparing students for the future well. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Before we go, I do have one thing that just dawned on me. This is the last time that I'll have an opportunity to speak to you before the end of the year. And I'm speaking about your tax year. As we just learned a minute ago, that the foundation has depended on a third of its $21,000 to come from contributions made by the membership to the foundation. I want you to remember that in if you're making plans at the end of the year for your tax contribution. Please keep the foundation in mind. It's a tough year. We're having a tough time in the foundation and in the club, so anything you can do to help would be certainly appreciated. And with that, we are adjourned.
Hey y'all, I'm Paula Dean. I get so much satisfaction sharing my Southern cooking with families across the country. But it can't compare with the feeling I get when I get to spend time with my friend Sophie. So y'all please join me and thousands of other Civitan members who make a difference every day helping special people just like Sophie. To find out more, contact your local Civitan club or visit us on the web at civitan.org. Together, we can make life sweeter in your community.